Council meeting of December 9th, 2024. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Public access is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda, and tonight's meeting will be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel online. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lukman Hiramasa.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Roper.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Here.
And Councilmember Walker. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. City Manager Geyer, are there any responses to resident inquiry?
Nothing this evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? No? Okay. Public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. City Clerk Small, is there anyone signed up to speak to council tonight?
Yes, Madam Mayor, one individual signed up in advance, and that is Tom Lampo.
Welcome. Please state your name and address and provide your comments to council.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm Tom Lampo, 3951 Jackson Way. It's good to be back in front of Northglenn, and I'm here to lift up Northglenn in prayer. Before we pray, I want to read a passage from Luke. We all fill our lives with those things that we most enjoy, and then other things happen in the course of our lives, and we become very busy. Case in point is a story from Luke 10:38 through 42. It states, "Now as they were traveling along, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him to her home. She had a sister called Mary, who was seated at the Lord's feet, listening to his word. But Martha was distracted with all her preparations, and came up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Then tell her to help me.' But the Lord answered and said to her, 'Martha, Martha, you are worried and bothered about so many things, but only one thing is necessary. For Mary has chosen the good part, which shall not be taken away from her.'" So during this maybe busier time of the year, don't forget the people. That's the good part of our lives. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, we invite you here to the city of Northglenn. You are always welcome with us. We give you all praise, glory, and honor to your name. In all situations, you always have victory. You will never experience defeat. There's nothing that transpires that you don't already know about. In Lamentations 3:37, it states, "Who can speak and have it happen if the Lord has not decreed it?" You rule over all, and all power is yours. Help us rest in knowing that times and situations might be difficult, and we might feel uneasy, but help us know that everything is in your control. Your desires will be accomplished for the good of your kingdom. Lord, we want to lift up all those that are serving in our military. They have an important job that is dangerous. Please keep them all safe and out of harm's way. We also want to lift up their families to you. Bring comfort to them. And Father, we pray for peace. You're not good at peace, so show us how to make peace. Things right now are quiet. Time continues to march on. Our nation will experience change, and it will be upon us before we know it. How do we calm our trepidations? In Psalm 46, 1 through 2, your word states, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear." You're asking for us to put a lot of trust in you. Our faith is more like the Israelites when they were backed up against the Red Sea and the Egyptian army was bearing down on them, or Thomas when he doubted your resurrection. Our faith is not where it should be to not have the uncertainty we have. So work with us, grow our faith, take small steps with us, carry us when we feel we can't go on. You are our God and we are your people. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Hold on. Is there anyone in the audience who did not have a chance to sign up that would like to speak to council tonight? No? Okay. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press *6 at this time. I don't hear anyone. Okay, we're going to move into presentations. 2024 APWA Transportation Award for 120th Avenue Improvements Project. So I would like to invite the American Public Works Association, Colorado Chapter Delegate Peter Adler, hello, for the presentation of the APWA Award for the 120th Avenue Improvements Project. And I would like council to join me down front for the presentation.
That'll be easier.
Bring them over here.
Yep. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. As you said, my name is Pete Adler, and I'm the Colorado Chapter Delegate for the American Public Works Association. And I'm here tonight to recognize the City of Northglenn for the 120th Avenue Improvement Project. This is the 39th year the Colorado Chapter has recognized outstanding achievements and individuals in public works in Colorado through our awards program. I came and presented an award 5 years ago in the other building at that time. And that the criteria for these awards includes innovation for a better way to serve the public and internal customers. Did the project achieve all set goals? Can other communities and situations learn from this project? And was there cooperation with multiple parties to achieve the set goals? We're recognizing the new 120th Avenue Improvement Project. This project met all the criteria the Colorado Chapter outlines. And I'll say there's a lot of great aspects to this project. With the location of the project and the funding source, working through CDOT local agency requirements is difficult, but you achieve that. Northglenn also needed to work with RTD and Thornton as your neighbor on this project, and I know RTD might not be the easiest to work with at times. I appreciate the cooperation between the developer of Carl's Farm and Northglenn as the improvements were made for the development. I will give a lot of credit to the staff on the project. You're throwing a curveball when you're getting ready to start construction, and all of a sudden there's COVID. So you got design to do, so like everybody else, you had to reconfigure how you do your work. And then, of course, as you got into the project, you faced the challenge brought by escalating prices caused by supply chain problems. During that period, cities and counties had to deal with those cost issues, but this project did successfully maneuver through those projects. I was also impressed by the water quality planters and the innovative aspect of the program. What to do with excess water along roadways is always a challenge, and I appreciate the innovation to use to address the issue with a little guidance, because there's no playbook for what your situation was, but coming up with solutions that other agencies could do. So on that, on behalf of the Colorado Chapter, I'd like to congratulate the City of Northglenn for this outstanding project and their Colorado Project of the Year recognition for the 120th Avenue Improvement Project.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just need to take a photo now.
Have any staff in the picture? Okay, guess it's just you guys. All right, so I need you to squish together as close to the flag as you can get. So you're good where you are. Everybody move towards Jody.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I would like turn sideways a little bit. Like if the mayor's in the middle, like you guys can angle and scoot. Sure. Okay, let's see. All right, that works. All right, say cheese. Cheese. It's always a learning experience taking pictures in a new place. I think we're getting there. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes. Pass it down. There you go. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you. From you guys.
I tend to forget, change my hat.
180 pounds of power.
Oh, thanks. Do something special with it. I'm gonna put it right here for now. Okay, moving on. We are going to communications. I will start with Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you to everyone who's joining us here tonight in the snow that I now see is falling, which is exciting. So this past Friday was Noel Northglenn, which I know a bunch of us attended. I did not make the same mistake as last year. We got there as close to 5 p.m. as possible to get our picture with Santa while the kids were still fresh. They had a blast. It is such an amazing event. I brought my mother and father-in-law came this year, and they were very impressed. So that was pretty awesome. We had Youth Commission last Tuesday. We had some of the students submit their proposals to go to NLC in March to DC, so we're going to be reviewing those and talking about that. And then I am reporting out for Ledge Committee, so this is going to be a minute, so hold on 1 second. So when it comes to the CML-backed bill regarding sex offenders in public spaces and their distance, and we're still moving that forward. We're looking to work with Adams 12 and CASB as well. And there will be a meeting with the governor's office next week. We'll be looking to include everyone and sort of see what's going to happen there. But that is still in the works. The new ledge session starts on January 8th. There's no supermajority for either party anymore, which is of note. And I think we've talked about sort of the things that we know that are coming down the pipe, the YIGBY, the sort of peace officer bills, various things happening there. On January 13th, we approved the legislative guide, so that it's going to kind of come to council on the 13th for everyone to take a look at. Then it will be printed. Our annual legislative dinner is on January 16th at 6 p.m. here in the community rooms. We've started to get RSVPs from some of our other representatives. I think we'll also be discussing how all of our sort of tiers of government work with each other on the 13th as well to sort of like prep for that meeting. We are also scheduled to have our legislative day under the dome and our breakfast with our legislators on March 21st. And we are still finalizing a location for that breakfast. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 4th of December, I attended the Quick Trip ribbon cutting, and that's on 120th and Race. So we're happy to welcome them to our community and definitely check them out. They have some awesome food options, and they keep rotating the food right away, so your food's always going to be fresh. So happy to have them. And after that ribbon cutting, I attended the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation meeting, and it was just a recap on our gala that we had, which raised over $34,000 just on paddle raises for the Northglenn Youth Theater. So it was a great success. And today I attended the first ever Colorado Latino elected officials convening, and it included state representatives, county commissioners, mayors, council members, and school board members. And there were dozens of electeds there. And here in Colorado, only the as elected officials, only 1.8% are Latinos, so there's underrepresentation. So we definitely brought that up, but there was a great representation today from all over Colorado. And we covered everything from housing and land use to leadership, identity, and balance, regional breaks that we had with, I was with the North, so met with our County Commissioner, Lynn Baca, and other members here, and we plan on meeting every 3 months. So that's something that we want to make sure that we do just to stay on the same page. And that was at the University of Colorado, Denver. And yep, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So last Tuesday, the Finance Committee met, and we continue to work on council spending policy, council spending and travel policy. So we are continuing to kind of hammer away at that, and we'll bring it forward to council when we're done for review. I also had the privilege of attending the ribbon cutting for QT as well. Councilmember Jaramillo was there, and some of the city staff, and again, we're just really excited to have them as part of the community, and I got to meet some of their staff and the leadership there, and they were all great people, so excited about what they can kind of bring. And that is all for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, on December 3rd, the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board had a special meeting because we normally don't meet in December. So it was a virtual meeting, and that was kind of really more just a last-minute check-in for planning for Noel Northglenn, which I did attend. We had a table, we sponsored a table with backpacks that people could check out for individuals with any kind of sensory sensitivities. And so that, it was a lot of fun to be there because we were kind of right by the front door so we could see everybody coming and going, and gave lots of directions to Santa because that's where everyone wanted to go. And then on the 4th, I also attended the Quick Trip ribbon cutting, and that was the first time I actually got to cut the ribbon, so that was exciting for me. And then also on that same day, December 4th, the Colorado Communities for Climate Action legislative group met, and some of the same things we've already heard. But I would have to say that they did point out that there's a huge budget shortfall this year that the Joint Budget Committee and really everybody is going to be working on. The budget shortfall is projected to be about $1.4 billion. So there's a lot of cuts coming down the road. And then I also we did talk a little bit about some of the bills, and I would say that our own Jenny Wilford continues to work for clean air. She's sponsoring a vehicle emissions bill that would update Colorado's emissions program. So that's something we can be on the lookout for. Let's see, whatever else. I guess the other thing is the vulnerable, boy, that's a hard word to say, vulnerable road users bill is continuing to move along. And that's going to be one that allows, I believe at this point it's to allow local municipalities to decide whether or not to charge some kind of a fee to help fund road improvements that would make them safer for pedestrians and bicycles. And then I guess the last thing was Noel Northglenn, and I already mentioned that, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Back on November 19th, I joined Director Peterson and her staff at Adams County to receive north of $1 million of grants. So really kudos to the Parks, Rec, and Culture Division for their continued success in receiving quite a few grants. The monies that we received will go towards improvements for JC and Danahay Park. So again, well done. I too also attended Noel Northglenn, so would like to thank the staff. Also, North Metro Fire Rescue District had a table there on some fire prevention and arts and crafts. So that was really nice to see multiple agencies coming together to celebrate the holidays and to commune with the community. On Saturday was a busy day. In the morning, or maybe that was on Friday, I'm sorry. Friday was a busy day also. It was just crazy all around. But that morning, I attended the Flat Rock Academy graduation, and Chief May was there to present a number of awards. We have now 3 new graduates that are rolling off of that program. So definitely looking forward to those folks now coming into our force and going through the field training phase of their development and ultimately reaching the force. Saturday, which was December 7th, if you remember, that's Pearl Harbor Day, the American Legion Post 22 had their annual dinner, and I attended along with the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilmember Roper. I was really delighted as a member of that post to be able to increase the number of council members that attended that dinner, and I hope you all enjoyed the roasting. They had us literally sitting at this head table at the end of a room, and of course, if you've ever remembered the Dean Martin sort of roast experience, but they didn't really roast us, but it was actually a great experience, I hope, for you all to meet the veterans in our community, and as well as other people affiliated with the military. And then my last comment has to do with what you just said, Councilmember Jaramillo, about the Latino Coalition. So one of the things that I'm working on, along with about 12 other elected Asian officials, along with Mayor Pro Tem as an ally to help with this effort, is we're also trying to establish we're going to call it tentatively the Colorado Asian Group. And this is going to be a nonpartisan sort of organization, early days, but we want to figure out how to get more Asians involved and inspired to participate in boards, commission, and serving as elected officials. So I may come knocking on your door just to figure out what you're learning from the Colorado Latino Coalition.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me think. This past few weeks have been very busy. On Saturday, I attended the Stonehawker Old Fashioned Christmas, and that was lovely. They have a bake sale, and then they have school groups come in and perform. Stookie Elementary performed, and then Northglenn's Chorale performed, and then Santa was there, of course, and then kids they did a book giveaway, but also before that started, they had a huge bike giveaway. And it was incredible to see how many bikes were given out to children and how excited the kids were to receive them. So that was wonderful. And then, as Councilmember Kondo said, I attended the American Legion dinner, and that was wonderful. Again, just to hear, their stories, to hear their impact in our community, whether making birthday boxes for student or children in need, but just, gift drives, just really giving back to our community in so many different ways. It was incredible. And as you may have noticed, I am on crutches, and they even said we have a whole shed full of walkers and crutches and anything scooters that people should need. And so just they are constantly looking for ways to give back, and just that was very powerful. They've already given so much in their service, and then they're continuing to give back. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a couple of weeks, so I'm just going to be very brief and skip over some other things, but some highlights at the end. I won't give specific dates, but at the end of November, I did attend a business walk of the North Metro building with the Business Retention and Expansion Committee, and it was just really cool to see all of the businesses in there, everything that's happening in Northglenn, all the entrepreneurs. But it was really fun because we were given an impromptu tour of Office Evolution's suites, and it's just so beautiful. So I highly recommend, if you're looking for a space, to definitely look at Office Evolution, because they really do treat their entrepreneurs and lessees, very, very well. So, and it's a beautiful space. Towards the end of November, I also attended the PBL, which is Problem-Based Learning panel at Northglenn High School, and the title was Amplifying Latino Voices, Overcoming Apathy and Isolation in Civic Engagement. I was also invited to attend the Latino Elected convening today, but because of my injuries from an accident, I have decided not to be driving very far right now. So I'm very sad to have missed that, but have had conversations with our Commissioner Baca on continuing, to amplify voices and get them involved in civic engagement, and also very active in that as well, wherever I can be. Attended a couple of wonderful ribbon cuttings, which is probably old news, Empanada Espresso and the Northglenn Business Suites. Great place to get espresso and empanadas. Great owner, fantastic. And the Northglenn Business Suites, they have some space. They're brand new. It's a beautiful place if you want to have an office, and very reasonable rent. So if you are looking for a place to start your business, please look them up as well. I don't remember which day, last Tuesday, I believe, AC Rep had their legislative preview breakfast, and I had the honor and the opportunity to provide the welcome on behalf of the mayor and the city. And also, it was very informative. As was mentioned previously, the biggest news right now at the Capitol is the huge budget deficit. So Rep. Shannon Bird was there, excuse me, and emphasized that nobody should ask for money. So any bill that has a fiscal note will be turned down. So that is going to be huge this year when it comes to legislation. Also heard from Senator Mullica, Representative Rutinel, Senator Michelson-Janae, and Commissioner-elect Julie Mullica, and all of their potential focus areas that they will be working on this upcoming legislative session. As was mentioned, also attended dinner at the American Legion. I love those folks. I know the mayor will probably debrief on that too, but it's just such an honor to talk to these veterans, and it's just so cool to listen to them and their perspective. So that was wonderful. And let's see, we had our Legislative Policy Committee meeting today, and Councilmember Burns already reported out on that, so I will leave it at that. I also went to Noel Northglenn, so that was very nice, and the grandkids had a lovely time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things because I don't want to repeat all the wonderful things that have already been done by our council. Saturday at 10 o'clock at the Olinger Mortuary, we partner with the American Legion Post 22 and the City of Thornton, and we do wreaths across America. So if you're interested in joining us for that, the American Legion raised enough money to purchase one wreath for every veteran that is there. So it'll be a lovely event. We look forward to it every year. So 10 a.m. at the Olinger Mortuary right on 104th and I-25. I don't know how I missed it, but I just wanted to give 3 cheers for the crosswalk on Irma. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It looks great. I was very excited. We've been talking about that for years. And so when I saw it, I was very, very excited. So yay. And it looks beautiful. And then a couple of things. I had an opportunity to chat with Councilmember Kondo and sort of highlight what the purpose is of council members attending learning opportunities and conferences, and then what we do with that information when we get back. It is really for us to share with one another, and so we're going to talk through a new procedure and a new protocol where we download together. We'll have a study session or a work session if members of council go to NLC or after CML every summer, that we come together and talk to each other about our learning, and instead of bombarding staff, because if we're all bombarding staff individually, we're violating council protocol, so we don't want to do that, and we also don't want to interrupt the amazing work progress that they're in the middle of. So after an awesome learning opportunity like that, we will get together and have a chance to debrief and then figure out, what new learning might be a priority or what new great idea that we learn about out of town can we bring forward. But I think it's important for us to remember our role versus staff's role. And so that'll be a new process, which I think will be really great. So that will be on the tentative future agendas. And so if you see it, that's what that's about. And then I also am excited about next week. We have a couple of things on the agenda, but we're also going to take some time to sort of break bread together for the holiday. And part of our meeting next Monday, we will move over to the community room, and our work session about events and ward meetings and all of that will be done over a little holiday dinner. So I'm looking forward to that. Gives us an opportunity to celebrate together. And that is all I have. City Clerk Small, do you have any updates?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not have any updates tonight.
Okay. City Manager Guyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have any updates this evening.
City Attorney Hoffman?
Make it unanimous, nor do I.
All right, sounds great. Well, that will tee up our Deputy City Manager, Jason Loveland, to give us the October 2024 financial update.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Tonight, I'll provide an overview of the performance of the key funds in the city, focus specifically on revenues, expenditures, and kind of overall trends that are happening. So first, to start off with sales and use tax. Year-to-date, sales and use tax have seen an increase of 5.5% compared to the previous year. We do see some variations within some of the numbers there. Auto use tax has decreased by 6.7%, so it kind of indicates a slowdown in vehicle-related purchases. Sales tax, however, is up 7.2%, so that demonstrates growth in consumer spending throughout the city, so that's very much on the positive side. Food tax has increased 5.5%, which is, again, another positive sign for local retailers. And then the marijuana tax has seen a decrease of 7.1%, and that has just been a continued trend over the past couple of years. So while some of the sectors are showing slower growth, overall sales and use tax is trending in the right direction and has a positive trajectory for the city's revenue. Turning to the general funds, revenues in the general funds total $30.3 million. This is an 8.6% increase from the previous year, or about $2.4 million. Largest revenue increases are coming from property tax, sales and use taxes, intergovernmental revenues, those are grant-related revenues, ARPA specifically is driving those numbers, and then fines and forfeitures as well. On the expenditure side, $31.5 million has been spent, which is 80.9% of the annual budget. This is typical through October in the general fund to be at about 80% of the budget appropriation spent. This level of spending aligns with the approved budget, and no unexpected things are, buried within the general fund expenditure numbers. Next, taking a look at the water funds, revenues total $12.8 million. We have seen some decreases in a couple of categories. Tap fees are down from the prior year, as are one-time intergovernmental revenues, and also a one-time water lease revenue of $3.75 million that occurred one time in 2023. On a positive note from a revenue standpoint, maybe not from a consumption standpoint, water consumption is up 18% over the prior year. At this time last year, it was down 22%. So we have kind of seen that flip happen. Restricted revenue, which is the 0.5% sales tax amount, is up 8.4%, or $2.8 million. And then again, the food tax is up 5.5%, which is restricted and within the water fund. Expenditures in the fund are at $16.2 million, which is 72% of the annual appropriation. We see some fluctuation in total expenditures just on an annual basis with capital outlay. And you can see the details on that on the pages later in the report. Moving ahead to the wastewater fund, we've seen a 6.9% increase in revenue, or a total of $5.15 million. There's been a rate increase that drives the majority of that increase. Expenditures in the fund are at $3.81 million, which is only 47.7% of the annual budget. Again, those numbers not on the operational side of things, but on the capital outlay side of things. So those revenues are in line with what we had planned. In the stormwater fund, revenues are $403,768, which is a 16.8% decrease from the prior year. This is a drop due to the reduction of one-time tap fees and grant revenue that we saw in 2023. Expenditures in the stormwater fund are $143,582, which is only reflective of an 8.7% annual appropriation. This is not on the operational side. This is one-time project of studying and evaluating our stormwater project. So in the next couple of presentations in November and December, we'll see that spending catch up to itself with that one-time project. And then finally, the sanitation fund has remained relatively stable. Revenues are at $1.63 million, which is a 2% increase over the prior year. Expenditures are at $1.6 million, or 61% of the budget. This is a 3.5% increase from the prior year. A lot of that's driven from higher fuel prices. So to conclude on the fund summaries, overall the city's general fund is performing well regarding revenues and expenditures being in line with expectations and budget. And all of the other funds honestly are fall in line as far as expected revenue and then expenditures that are in line with the budget. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Deputy City Manager Loveland. I wonder if you can go back to slide, I guess it would be number 4 on the bottom, the water fund. And I know you're talking in the blue box, comparing usage of water, consumption of water. I'm just wondering, you're doing it in dollars, and I wonder if it's more instructive to do it in gallons of water consumed because, from one year to the next, the price of water on a per gallon basis changes, or for that matter, we have the tiered pricing system as well. So doesn't that put some strange dynamics when it comes to pricing as opposed to the actual number of gallons used?
So it could have an impact there. So the actual consumption, and I'm sorry, I do not have the number of gallons in front of me, but the actual gallons used is up 18% over the prior year. So it's not directly reflective of the revenues necessarily.
Okay.
But I don't have that number in front of me. But
Yeah, no, I'm expecting you to have that, but it may be helpful. Just so that the distortions that come from pricing can, you're actually looking at the actual tangible volume of water use. That might be helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
I do not see any other questions. Thank you for the update.
All right, thank you.
Moving to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Please open the vote. Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have a few resolutions tonight. We will start with CR 181. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution approving a master services and purchase agreement between the City of Northglenn and Axon Enterprise Incorporated for the implementation of the Axon Records and Standards System.
Move for approval.
Second.
Well, hello. I have the chief on my list, but we have our deputy chief presenting tonight.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here to discuss council's consideration of Council Resolution 181. It approves a master service and purchasing agreement between the city and Axon Enterprises Incorporated. It actually amends a current agreement that we have with the Axon as well for our body cams and tasers, and it's kind of a whole package. Just to give a little bit of background, over the last couple of years, we've had some issues with our records management system and AdCom as the host of that system. A little over a year ago, we had a cyber attack on that particular system. It shut it down for many months for most of the agencies. Our agency was able to get back up and operating within about 30 days. With that cyber attack, Adams County Sheriff's Department decided to pull themselves out of the consortium RMS agreement that we have with Brighton, Commerce City, ourselves, and Adams County Sheriff's Office. They pulled a separate RMS system onto their own, which they just went live with about a month ago. As that occurred, Commerce City looked at the same exact situation, and they have since pulled themselves out of the RMS as well. They are currently in the process of implementing their new RMS system, and January 1, 2026 is their cut date, go live date with their new RMS system. When we saw that kind of maneuvering with the consortium, we began to look at options for our own RMS system. Axon is a kind of a new product in this arena. They are a service provider for us on many fronts for services within our agency, and moving into them as an RMS provider makes a lot of sense because we actually already pay for the service with our body camera and taser packages and data sharing and cloud-based service that they provide to us currently. What this product does, what this proposal is a service agreement for them to do the transfer. It's a one-time cost for them to transfer, do all the integrations that are necessary for services that we currently have in the system and all the systems within the PD, as well as data conversion for all the current data that's within the system. The police department has not been on its own records management system for a few decades now. Prior to this consortium, we had a different consortium with a different service provider, and this is kind of the opportunity. It's really the writing on the wall, really. All the agencies are moving now to have sole control of their records management systems. This does come with a larger price tag than I'd like. It's $1.539 million. It's a one-time cost. We will have savings of about $171,000 annually over the next several years. In different services that we will not need because this RMS service provides it. So it'll take us about 7.5 years to make that funds back in what current budget expenditures are. And I'll be willing to answer any questions you might have on this service.
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if we were to switch to this new record management service with Axon, what happens to our legacy digital records? Are those all portable, or they'll be readable by the new record management system?
So it's a full data conversion for our current RMS system. So they'll convert all of the data into the files, and we'll be able to pull them right out of this system.
Okay. So that means even our legacy files going back however many years we're required to maintain records?
So this contract, we have two digital versions. We have the current version we're on and the prior version of the last software service, which was iLeads. This project includes transferring both of those digital medias into the current RMS system by Axon. That's part of that cost.
And I'm just curious, just as there are industry standards like USB and all this other stuff, are there industry standards for certain records or files and things of that nature? Is it all PDF or something like that?
So it's industry standards. It's interesting. CJIS is the industry standard for security measures that are needed for all of the files. They're all CJIS files, and they need to have a certain industry standard for security within the system. Most everything, when printed, is PDF format. And that's pretty much, it is, I don't know if that's necessarily an industry standard, but it's pretty standard among law enforcement agencies. Is anything we print is a PDF format.
Okay, gotcha, thank you. I'm sorry, say that again, it's a CGIS file is what you're talking about when it's on the server?
The software itself and the security measures that are cloud-based and all of that, there's CGIS compliance for all of those files because they are criminal justice records. And under the Criminal Justice Records Act, we have to have certain security measures. Axon meets all of those security measures. It's the same measures we have to have for our body cams, for taser files, all of those different law enforcement files.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question will be really quick, but on the, I guess, the bid, it says that the program length is 60 months. Then at the end of that 60 months, will we need a new program or will we pay a new fee to continue onward, or is this a one-time?
So these fees that are addressed here are all one-time fees. We actually currently already pay for RMS services in the bundle package that we have. We just never set them up because we weren't using them as an RMS service. So once this one-time fee is covered, the fees we currently cost will continue on.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, I have a question about the online crime reporting. So I know ADCOM was supposed to release that software to fix that terrible mobile interface. So with this changing, like how is that? I'm assuming Axon probably has state-of-the-art software that will take care of that. But in the transition phase, what is that going to look like? Is that still going to be upgraded to be able to do that?
So the online reporting system that was being used by the PD has been completely removed. That system has been taken down. We updated and put up a new link. That is a DOORS system, which is not actually utilized by our RMS system. It's just uploaded into our RMS system. So when we switch over to Axon, the DOORS system will remain. Axon will do a integration with the DOORS system, and it'll operate exactly as it does now. So that system, what happens is you're kind of taken off-site to file a report, and then it's backdoored into our RMS system. So it won't change at all.
Okay, it would be better.
It's up and operating currently, and it's completely functioning. Yes.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem triggered some questions for me. So with this new system then, I guess, as it integrates with our website, is that, I assume that, like, all of that change will be on us in-house versus, like, it sounds like this one-time cost is just for the moving of records.
It's for moving of records, it's for training of employees, it's for installing the database, but most everything is cloud-based. So as far as servers are concerned or IT connections, it'll be the same as our body-worn cameras are. It's all done cloud-based, it's all managed by the service provider and paid through the normal service fees.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for being here, Deputy Chief. Can you tell me maybe just what are some of the kind of examples of tangible benefits of kind of making this switch?
One of the biggest tangible benefits is that it's a system our officers are very familiar with. We use it every single day with our body-worn cameras. It is the identical system maneuvering through the process, and our officers are familiar with it. Not only will it be now that our officers are using the software, but so will our civilian staff. So all our records personnel will be using the same exact system that the officers are, and our training platform will be one platform across all employees instead of multiple platforms. Currently, we use not just a records management system, but we also use a Blue Team system, an IA Pro system to manage different types of files, as well as we use our evidence.com to manage digital files. This will all be integrated into one system, which is the reason one of the main reasons we went with Axon. There are many RMS providers, but Axon integrates everything into one usable system, and when you train an employee on it, you're training one system. The overwhelming majority of our officers, not overwhelming, every one of our sworn officers uses the system every day to manage their body cameras, to manage digital evidence of any kind. So as we move to training, it'll be much, much simpler. Second tangible benefit are the built-in analytical tools that are part of the software. The current RMS system struggles when we use our analytical pieces Because we have a connection, we don't manage the database, it's managed off-site. We have a direct connection. Oftentimes that connection clogs and gets too busy to manage the software data analytics in the background. Whereas this system is cloud-based, but it's our data and it's our system, and we have direct connection to that cloud base. So the imported data analytics is much stronger within this system than it is currently in the RMS system we're using. Those are two of the main tangible benefits.
Okay. And what might be an example of the kind of analytics piece? I don't know how much you can share, but.
Sure. So daily analytics for crime reporting, crime mapping, the ability for us to map crime. We struggle tremendously with that. Right now we use an Esri product to geocode locations. Gathering that data back out of the system, very complex for us, very complicated. Building dashboards that could be shared with the public, that could be run routinely over and over. Those type of dashboards are very difficult to operate in our current RMS system. The information we've been provided and demonstrated through the RMS system with Axon makes those tools much more user-friendly, much easier to access, and gives us the potential to do live dashboards that can be updated on an everyday, week, monthly basis that has potential to share with the public on crime dashboards as well.
Okay, so the public, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. Will the public get kind of more of a updated or almost a kind of a real-time view of how things are going?
That's been the goal. It's been a project that I've been working on since coming in the door here. To build dashboards for the public on not only on crime, but on use of force, on other, tangible pieces that the public might want to know. Officer discipline, all kinds of the dashboards can be done. And we have just very difficult data within our system. This system promises a much improved data analytics for those type of dashboards to be created.
Okay, so it sounds like it really just kind of streamlines the process across the board.
It does, and the tools, the data analytics and the tools are available to every officer based on permissions. So not only can we use our crime analysts to do it, but actual officers can run that data analytics themselves as well, because it's all permissions-based, the entire program.
Neat. Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 181 passes unanimously.
Thank you. CR 183, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution adopting the Northglenn Playbook.
Move for approval. Second.
We welcome Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, Amanda Peterson, to provide a summary of this item. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution before you tonight would adopt the Northglenn Playbook, which is our Parks, Recreation, and Culture long-range plan. City staff worked with our consultant team from MIG to conduct public outreach, identify priority goals, conduct a system-wide inventory, develop recommendations, and create an implementation plan. This plan is intended to serve as a guiding document for the department and for the city for the next 10 to 15 years. Per the municipal code, it's reviewed by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on an annual basis and updated and brought forward to council at a minimum of every 5 years. Additionally, progress on the implementation of the plan would be included in our annual report that we produce as a department. The draft plan was brought forward to City Council at a study session on October 28th, at which time Council provided consensus to bring the document forward for adoption. There's no substantive changes have been made since that time. And additionally, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board has provided their unanimous approval to move the playbook forward as presented. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for really the extensive work that was done, and I appreciate your response to my email regarding the trail section. I'm assuming that this is going to be available for residents to view digitally through our city webpage or?
Yes, it will be posted right where the current one is on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board's page. We'll get that updated and have replaced the 2017 plan with this current plan once it is adopted.
Okay. And then lastly, I appreciate the consideration that was given to making some adjustments to Huron Crossing. I know we have heard some concerns there from a resident or two, and so I appreciate the fact that we are being considerate and thoughtful about addressing that concern.
Thank you.
Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for all of your work on this and for all of your staff. This is really a really well thought out plan. Excuse me. I also just love how just the intentionality of planning for our future and just the big dreams that it sets forth. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
No more hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 183 passes unanimously.
CR 190, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and Glacier Construction Company, Incorporated for the Water Treatment Facility Chemical Building Improvements Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Director of Public Works, Sarah Borgers, is here to provide a summary. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's good to see you again on this lovely snowy Monday evening. I'm here tonight to talk about water treatment facility chemical building improvements. So if you go out to the water treatment site, there's a building that contains a lot of the important chemicals that we use in order to treat our water. Some of the structures within that building are showing their age, and we just need to do some work to get them back up to where it's, one, safe for our staff to be working there, and to make sure that we are continuing to produce safe water. So we went out for an IFB. We received several bids back that ranged from $1,138,000 to $1,496,000 and change. Glacier was the low bid, and we are also going to be including 3 of our 4 bid alternates. So the final number on that is $1,191,490. That was a lot of numbers. I hope that made sense. We have about $600,000 available in ARPA funding that we are hoping to apply to this project, and the remainder we have other capital accounts that we would like to repurpose to use for this project. I also do want to mention that we do have some permit reviews that we do still need to go through. We are requesting a 5% contingency, and if anything comes up in those reviews, we'll use that contingency to do that. If it's something major, we'll come back to you and make sure that we are addressing those. With that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate your responses to the question on my email on Friday. I also want to acknowledge, and I think in one of your responses, you said that you will reach out to North Metro.
Yes.
And I do appreciate that in view of the fact that we had a fire out there. And so just making sure that stakeholders that may need to respond, and obviously a chemical building could potentially be a very nasty sort of event if something really went wrong. So I appreciate the fact that you are going to engage with North Metro Fire to make sure it's all good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 190 passes unanimously.
CR 191, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution approving addendum number 8 to the professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Republic Services Incorporated for calendar year 2025 landfill services.
Move for approval.
Second.
Director of Public Works, Sarah Borgers is back for this item.
Thank you very much. So this would be continuation number 8 for contracted services for the landfill where we take our trash to. We are asking for $300,000 not to exceed. This is a little bit higher than what we requested in '24 because a few weeks ago, as you recall, we had to come back and ask for a little bit more money because we are producing a little bit more trash with more residents and it's costing us a little bit more per unit cost. So I'm happy to answer questions.
I don't see any questions. This one's straightforward. Thank you so much. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 191 passes unanimously.
I will now recess the regular city council meeting and call to order a meeting of the Marijuana Licensing Authority. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 13th, 2024 meeting?
Move for approval.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and the motion to approve the minutes passes unanimously.
Senior Deputy City Clerk and Licensing Administrator Lisa Andrews will present the application to council. We're talking about the change of location application for Physician Preferred Products LLC, Docs Apothecary.
Good evening. So I am here tonight to present the application to change the location of Docs Apothecary. And tonight we will specifically be considering the preliminary findings of fact report. So the applicant is Physician Preferred Products LLC, doing business as Docs Apothecary. They are currently located at 2100 East 112th Avenue, Unit Number 5, and they are proposing to move to 2150 East 112th Avenue. And they currently have a medical and retail marijuana sales licenses. So this just depicts for council where they currently are. If you look at the photo, there is kind of a green overhang. That is the existing location at 2100 East 112th Avenue, Unit Number 5. They are proposing to move to the lot right next door, which has been addressed 2150 East 112th Avenue. And they have applied for building permits. It's going to be a brand new building that they're constructing. And I believe that one of the main purposes for this application is to get them better visibility from 112th Avenue. And I also believe, though this can be confirmed with the applicant when he comes for the public hearing, that he contemplates also having a drive-through window at the new location. So this is what the outside of the building is proposed to look like and kind of shows the site maps where it's going to be. These drawings depict the layout of the building and the proposed interior, and it will show where the retail establishment is, where the medical establishment is, entrances, and the drive-through windows. So the criteria for consideration with respect to a change of location is limited to the questions you would ask about the location, as opposed to a new application where you would consider the location as well as the moral character and background of the applicant. This applicant or this licensee has been in that existing establishment or in that existing premises since we implemented regulated marijuana back in 2012, and they've been under consistent licensure. So what council will be looking at are related to the location. Pursuant to Municipal Code Sections 1814.11 and 1816.13, the proposed location is a permanent location and is not within 200 feet of any single or multifamily residential structure or unit or parcel or lot, within 500 feet of a licensed childcare facility, within 1,000 feet of any educational institution or school, college, or university, either public or private, within 500 feet of any public park, public pool, or public recreation facility, within 1,000 feet of any halfway house or correctional facility, within 1/2 mile of any other marijuana business, within any building or structure that contains a residential unit, or upon any City of Northglenn owned property. So this photo depicts the initial consideration that staff looks at. It's not exactly where the new location will be. It's the very first time that we look at it. And it shows us the different boundaries, the 200-foot, 500-foot, 1,000-foot, and 1/2 mile buffer. And that tells us if there are any concerns with it being too close to any specific constraint. With this particular application, staff was concerned about the distance to the residential units right across of 112th Avenue. And so Planning Manager Becky Smith asked the surveyor, the professional surveyor that helped the applicant draft their plans, to file an affidavit that certifies that it does meet that criteria. It has to be more than 200 feet from any residential unit. And so they did certify that it is compliant with the code. It's 210 feet from the residential property line. So the administrative findings that we have looked at, the application is complete and the required fees have been paid. The application has been investigated for compliance with the municipal code, and the preliminary findings of fact have been drafted. Approved findings of fact report must be provided to the applicant at least 5 days prior to the public hearing, and the public hearing has been preliminarily scheduled for January 13th, 2025, and that would be during a regular city council meeting. So in your packet, you have the draft preliminary findings of fact report, and it goes over all of those location requirements that staff looked at, as well as the additional steps that are required. One of those is that the applicant does come to the public hearing and present their case to council. They do have to get all of the required permits and licenses related to the marijuana business. And they would be subject to a final inspection once they receive a certificate of occupancy for the new building. The police department will go in and do a final inspection to make sure that they're in compliance with the state and local marijuana regulations. So the options that you have this evening are to approve the preliminary findings of fact report or continue consideration. Staff would recommend approving the preliminary findings of fact report. In that case, a motion to approve would be necessary. And then staff will issue the approved report to the applicant at least 5 days prior to that public hearing. And we would have the public hearing on January 13th, 2025. The other option would be to continue consideration, and staff would only recommend that if there was a major problem with the application or something significantly wrong in the preliminary findings of fact report. In that case, at council's discretion or at the authority's discretion, we would bring the draft report back at your discretion, and then we would schedule a public hearing at a date to be determined. So the next steps, and this is assuming that the preliminary findings of fact report are approved, staff would post a notice of public hearing on premises. We would post a notice in the Northglenn Thornton Sentinel, and we would mail a notice to all property owners within a 1/2 mile radius of the proposed location at least 10 days prior to the public hearing. During the public hearing on January 13th, a licensee will be present to provide testimony and evidence regarding the application. And then the authority will look at the location to determine if any negative impacts on the surrounding neighborhood are likely. And those might include any undue concentration of marijuana businesses that would require the use of additional law enforcement resources, an increase in traffic congestion, a shortage of available parking, or any other demonstrable negative impacts caused by the change of location. With that, I will turn it over to the authority. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And then tonight, you'll be looking at the preliminary findings of fact report, and then the next step, of course, would be the public hearing.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. So I had a couple of questions. One is, once this is approved and they get the permit to change location, is there a time limit, like if they have some delay in construction?
Not necessarily. It's really up to council's discretion. So if it were to take them years and years, we could bring that back. I believe that the regulation states that any establishment or any license that sits basically stagnant for a period of a year, the authority could not renew. However, we do have an example right now of discrete greens that was approved a little ways back. They're still under construction. They're not open yet. And so they have been renewing their privilege. So every year they come in and pay their fees and they get that approval renewed. But it is really up to council's discretion if it sits stagnant for more than a year. We could bring that back to the authority.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And then the other thing is, I don't know, for some strange reason or whatever, they decide it doesn't work out and they want to stay where they are they going to have to reapply?
I believe that they would. Because with your approval this evening, once they go through all of those steps, those licenses will actually move from the premises. The license ties to both the licensee and the premises. And so if they were to want to continue to stay where they are, they would have to apply and get the approval to do that.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing, I guess, I don't know how we can even know a projection, but the reason they're wanting to make the move is so they have more visibility, and then with the drive-in, it seems to me that there will be more traffic. So I don't know if anybody can speak to, do we have any idea of how much more traffic? Like, is it going to cause congestion? There's no stoplight there or anything.
That's what the public hearing's for.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is exactly
That's right,
what you'll
that's
be
right.
evaluating at the public hearing.
Got it. Thank you very much. That's it.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a clarifying question. This is just retail, correct? They're not growing here.
They are not growing, but it is medical and retail.
Okay, medical and retail, okay. And a question with regard to the piece about it being within 500 feet of any public recreational facility. I know there is the Let's Play Soccer Northglenn facility over there. That doesn't count, right? Because that's private?
Correct. Yes, it's not a public facility. So if it were next to the Northglenn Recreation Center,
Right.
that would not be allowed. But because that is a private facility, it does fit within the criteria.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what kind of piqued my interest is you mentioned that there will be a drive-through feature.
I believe that there will, but I would definitely recommend clarifying that with the applicant during the public hearing.
Okay.
I was just looking at their plans, and it appears that they contemplate that, but that's definitely a question for the applicant.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to point it out to you so you would know that that may be something that you would like to ask the applicant.
And so my follow-up is with City Attorney Hoffman. From a legal standpoint, are there maneuvers that we have to do as a city to authorize a drive-through sort of facility selling marijuana, retail, medical?
Nothing in addition to the process that's contemplated here, which is part of your public hearing will be to consider any other demonstrable negative impacts. So if council were to be concerned about the impacts of a drive-through, part of the change of location hearing is an opportunity to present that evidence and for you to ask those questions. But there is no legal impediment to having a drive-through.
Thank you.
So on page 1 of the document, there is sample motion language. If a council member would like to jump in.
I move to approve the preliminary findings of fact report for issuance to the applicant at least 5 days prior to the public meeting, which will be held on January 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
I'll second that.
And do we open a vote? All
Yes,
right.
please.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the motion to approve the findings of fact and order the report issued passes unanimously.
I will now adjourn the meeting of the Marijuana Licensing Authority and reconvene the regular city council meeting. We have 2 discussion items tonight. The first one is the municipal judge selection process. Deputy City Manager Jason Loveland is here to present this item to council.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So part of this is going to be getting feedback from you all and us taking notes. So just wanted to put that out there. So the purpose of the discussion is to review the recruitment and selection process for the council-appointed position of municipal judge. Goal tonight is make sure that staff is in alignment with council's expectations as the process moves forward. The recruitment for this position will remain open until the close of business Friday, January 3rd. It opened last Wednesday, December 4th. After January 3rd, we'll be ready to review applications and begin the selection process. So in the memo, I've outlined kind of a broad overview of the process using the similar process that was used in 2019, the recruitment in 2019. So also, as I mentioned, want to hear council's feedback to ensure that it's going to meet council's expectations. So really quickly, kind of the outline of the process. As I mentioned, the deadline to submit interest is January 3rd. So we have outlined that on Monday, January 13th, in an executive session, staff will provide council a notebook containing all the applications submitted. This includes resumes, personal statements, and other relevant material that the applicants submit. We'll also use that session so we don't have to decide everything tonight, just as a side note to not put too much pressure on. We'll use that session to kind of discuss and finalize the selection process and hopefully tie in some feedback from tonight to kind of guide that conversation on the 13th. 2 weeks later, on January 27th, our ask from the 13th to the 27th is that council provide, each of you provide like your top 3 to 5 applicants from reviewing the materials to City Attorney Hoffman. He'll compile that information to try to narrow it down for the conversation on the 27th. At the session on the 27th, the plan will be to, again, identify top applicants to select for interviews, and then also finalize questions for those interviews, and then any other process steps that you may want. We do have a list of questions. We'll talk about those in executive session, but we can bring those back from the last recruitment and start from there. We don't have to start from scratch. And then interviews, that's going to be determined. Not too much else to be said about that. I would imagine that will happen in February to kind of keep that 2-week rolling process going. One other note is to get feedback from council whether or not council desires having like a meet and greet with court staff, or getting feedback from the prosecuting attorney or from Judge Bailhash as far as looking at the applicant's qualifications and kind of receiving their feedback. So with that, happy to kind of walk through, listen to your feedback, take notes, so that we can be prepared on the 13th to kind of close the loop on what could be a very, very broad process. Mr. Hoffman can share. He's probably more versed in this than the rest of us, so. Or he can stay silent as well and talk once we all start talking, so.
Okay. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you. So this is just kind of a question for all of us, I guess, or anybody. I was wondering how, if it would be useful to have, or in the past, we've had precedent with any boards or commissions, giving input. And I'm thinking both DICE and the CCPP might have an interest in this.
I don't believe that's necessary. I think this role is very different than a staff member role, and as one of our appointees, I think it should, I like this process. One of the things I would add is, I would like to meet with the municipal court staff and get some feedback and figure out a protocol for that, but it doesn't make me comfortable actually opening it to boards and commissions.
Okay, well,
But
I mean.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, anybody else? I mean, it just is something I wondered if you've done things like that before.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I definitely don't think the CCPP board should weigh in. I think that the police and the judge should be separate. Those are two different branches of government.
You want to turn your mic back on?
Sorry, I think those should be the CCPP and the judge should be kept very separate. The modus operandi of CCPP is to bridge the gap between the police and the community. The judge, that is a very different, operational branch of government, not involved. That's just my POV on that.
On that one topic?
Yes, that's my one, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm curious, a follow-up. Would you say if we did have a stakeholder engagement opportunity, would you be okay with the chief or the deputy chief being part of that, or do you feel like that's blurring the lines?
I would think that the only people who really have should have a say in this matter are the municipal staff, municipal court staff, and us, because they're our employee. But yeah, you don't get to pick your other department heads. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I have to find my hand raiser thing.
Yeah, okay, are we done on that topic? Catherine, did you have anything else?
No, I mean, I have no problem with not doing that. I just
Okay,
wondered.
great.
I agree with Megan.
Okay. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do think it would be nice to, as written in the memo here, to have a meet and greet as suggested with the court staff. And actually, I would be okay with also the prosecuting attorneys, plural, if there are more than one, and our outgoing judge. So I don't know if anybody here on the dais has concerns with that laundry list of people being involved.
Madam Mayor, if I could, while I appreciate the opportunity to get the input of the prosecuting attorney, the other thing I will note is it's very similar to the chief of police. The prosecuting attorneys are subcontractors to my contract, but in my experience, there should actually be somewhat of what I'd call a healthy tension between the prosecutor's office and the municipal judge, because that frankly, the prosecutor's prosecuting and the judge is not always going to rule in the prosecutor's favor. Whatever counsel's prerogative, but in my view, the municipal judge, I mean, as the mayor pointed out, it's one of your appointees. It's also, frankly, one of the positions where, in many respects, there are many people that their only exposure to the city of Northglenn will be through our municipal court. So they really are an extension of you all in terms of our community culture, in terms of kind of how this council wants to project through its courts. So including others is certainly appropriate, but this is, in my mind, certainly one of the most important appointments you could make. Not a department head, but a council appointee that really should project the culture you intend to project.
So thank you, City Attorney Hoffman. When I look back at the memo, it phrases it as a meet and greet with the court staff or getting feedback. So it's very optional. I guess a meet and greet is very different to me than getting feedback. A meet and greet is sort of after the fact or at some point later. I think the soliciting feedback, this is our process, as you mentioned, this is our employee. I do recall in the selection before was hearing from the current judge and hearing what was going well, hearing some things that were needed as far as leadership strengths and qualities, and also thinking through what are some of the things that we have really appreciated about Judge Bailhash and what have been her strengths and her projects that she's been moving forward. And so I think part of the process is that, but it really is, so how we collect that feedback and how we gather that information, I think is something we need to sort through, but it is our process, it is our employee. Councilmember Kondo, do you have anything more?
Yes, I'll just share with you, been benchmarking some fire departments and how they're doing their resident engagement and seeking feedback. And so just most recently, South Adams County Fire Department had their semifinalist candidates come in, and they had a night of round robin, first with internal staff, frontline firefighters, and then secondly with residents. And so what they had was, they would have this list of all the candidates, and people would write down their impressions or thoughts, and then they would collect the survey. And that would be for the nominating committee then to take those comments into consideration as they make their finalist selection.
So that, I'm familiar with that process and we have used it. I don't recommend it for this position. It's very, very different.
Okay.
It is, as Councilmember Burns pointed out, it's a completely different sort of branch of government
Gotcha.
as opposed to a city manager or a director.
Okay, gotcha. I just thought I'd offer that as an observation.
Madam Mayor, if one other thing, and the judge actually reminded the deputy city manager and I of this part of the process apparently last time, is that the council had each of the finalists actually do a portion of the docket so that they could see that judge's presence on the bench. And certainly that could be part of the process as well, need not be, but that is, the current judge reminded us that that was a very unique part of the past process.
Have we outlined that in the timeline? Did we make space for it?
We will make the space as we can, as we carry on. Quite honestly, we're just to the January 27th. Hey, here's where we identify the finalists. And so between now and the 27th, we'll shape the rest of the process to lay those things out.
Yeah, court meets frequently enough that we could fold that in
Great.
to the existing process.
Can I ask
Sure.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? What is that process like? Do we record them or?
We would encourage you to attend.
Oh.
It is an open court, and so the council members that wanted to attended that court date, and each of the candidates got, as I recall, a portion of the day's docket, and those that wanted to observe could.
Interesting. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney Hoffman already brought up my point about the prosecuting attorneys, that I do not think that they should be a part of this process at all. I loved your statement too about the culture we would like to bring. I think that is so important, and I wasn't around for this last process, so I love the idea of seeing work in action. I'm not a fan of free labor, that sort of thing. But I love this, of just seeing how, because I really do think this role is so important to our culture and how our community reflects and interacts with us, that it needs to be done with care. And so I am okay with doing a post-hire meet and greet with people, like a mixer, a funtivity. But this process is I think our burden to bear a lot of it, and making sure that this is correct. That's it. Attorney Hoffman took all of my oomph and everything I wanted to add, so.
Councilmember Burns, when you talk about a meet and greet, what is your vision?
I don't know, like a new hire mixer. It's almost like, not that like, government and business are run very differently, but, when someone of a high level is brought into an organization, it's often viewed as like, there's a lot of feelings involved, and I think just with a culture add and a culture shift, potentially, that it is good to dip in and sort of have it come in, especially with something like a judge in municipal court can be very, it's a lot of tension in the day-to-day job. So I think having a more relaxed team building environment makes a lot more sense as a first introduction versus a day one, open the doors into the judicial building.
And who is invited?
Us and the municipal staff. I think Chief would be good as a partner there. DC as well. They all work in that same building, right? So I think anyone in the building would make a lot of sense that you're going to be seeing a new person. That also comes from a safety perspective too, of just seeing new people. Jessica Fools and crew.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I think prosecuting attorneys, they're fine to come. They can be on the invite list. Us, yeah, I think that makes sense. Again, this is a community, a staff position as well. It's such an interesting space to be in. But yeah, that's sort of my grand vision.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So talk about all the oomph, all the great questions were asked, all the clarifications. In terms of feedback, I also like this process, but I agree 100% with Councilmember Burns in terms of this needs to be our process, and we should be the ones to go through that on our own before a mixer, for example. Love the idea of a mixer. I also do think that, I believe the mayor mentioned it, hearing from Judge Bailhash is important too in terms of what's worked well, because she's really done a great job, I believe, in definitely leading that culture that we all support. So I know that's been said a few times, so I think that's an important part, and that's all I would add. Thank you.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just to clarify, will City Attorney Corey Hoffman be part of this too, part of the process, besides us sending him our top five applicants?
Certainly, I would not recommend as a decision maker. I am certainly happy to assist in facilitation, but beyond that, no.
Okay.
I would not recommend it.
Okay, just making sure since you're our legal counsel.
Councilmember Kondo?
So I do like what City Attorney Hoffman was proposing, that if there's time that we could go and watch part of the docket. So I don't know if the rest of the days feels like that's worth doing, but I'm definitely in support of it.
I did believe it was an effective process. It'll be interesting to see, number one, who applies, who's qualified that applies. How do we I'd love to see if we have 5 applicants. We may not. So I'd like to see how that goes. And yeah, you never know how it's going to turn out based on the application process. So,
Awesome.
yes.
Quick question. So what happens if we get one person who applies and we don't like them? Do we just go through it all again?
I think so.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Word is definitely on the street. I've heard, so I will be very surprised if you do not get a robust number of applicants.
Ooh, we're the popular girl? I love that for us.
That is good. Okay, great. Did you get enough feedback?
Yeah, I think that's enough feedback that we can formulate kind of the next steps and bring those forward, on the 13th, just to have outlined. So appreciate your time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, preparation for January 6th. It's a meeting. It's hard to say that without thinking of something else. Draft of the 2025-2029 strategic plan review discussion. And City Manager Heather Geyer is here to talk to us about it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be here this evening to share with you the draft 2025 to 2029 strategic plan. This evening, I'm introducing the draft plan in its framework layout. As you see in front of you, I'm going to provide some orientation with the draft plan, so I will give you a gift of the plan in just a moment. The recommended title for the draft plan is Imagine the Possibilities, Empowering Change, Delivering Results. And you can see a sneak peek of the draft document on the screen in front of you. The purpose of tonight is not to have discussion on the draft plan, and that is intentional in order to provide council with the space to really dive in to the draft document that I'm providing to you this evening in preparation for that January 6th session. On January 6th, that session is going to be to go through the comments and feedback, the notes that you have based on your review, and deep dive into the plan. It is not going to be a session to generate new ideas, rather really work with the content that's been developed to date and refine it, so that way we can move the plan onto the adoption, which is the final step in this process before it's really about implementation and execution of the plan ideas. So we're asking that you focus on the draft content and really think about the conversation that you want to have with your colleagues on the dais. And the other piece of that January 6th conversation that's critically important is prioritization of the unfunded ideas. And so we're providing council with homework this evening. It's not often that I get to give you homework. We're providing you with homework, and this is to take this plan and take a deep dive into it over the next several weeks. Jot down your thoughts and questions. I've provided a nice kit based on the advisement of the mayor of highlighters, sticky notes, tabbies, so one-stop shop for your review here, so I'll hand these out now. You don't like your colors, you trade with your
colleagues. I'll take whatever color, I'm good.
I like how they have a ribbon on them like that.
I know, it's so pretty. Unless you want orange, because it is Bronco colors.
Green. Green's Christmassy. Love green.
Love all the things.
Nick's got that. Is this also considered a Christmas gift?
It is the city manager's Christmas gift to council.
Homework.
So for your review, I have developed some recommended questions. Well, let me step back. For your review, a couple of things to know. I jumped to the heart of diving in. There's 96 ideas that have been sorted out of the 120 ideas that were initially included on the Padlet that council previously saw a version of. So with this draft document, the Padlet numbers are no longer on the draft document. And so just know that I've kept track, and I have a reference point of where the ideas went in terms of staff's direction from council was to sort through those ideas, combine like ideas, and that's why you see that number shift from 120 ideas to 96. There are 15 ideas that were put onto attachment 2, which is referred to as the ideas that don't fit. Primarily, those ideas don't fit because they're things we've already done, or they're things we don't need to do. So we're in a really great place in that regard. And there's further explanation for any of those ideas that don't fit in what I just described. We wordsmith ideas. Any feedback on wordsmithing, just jot down a note on a sticky and bring that question or comment to the January 6th session. The one example that I give here about combined similar ideas, Playbook, there were several ideas regarding parks, recreation, cultural art, activities throughout the strategic planning Padlet document. So those ideas have been combined into one recommendation, which is 3.2, which is the infrastructure section of the draft document. So you'll see that those ideas were combined. So that was probably the most expansive theme and topic from council's work that is combined in 3.2. We integrated other priority work from staff. So a large portion of the time from the last presentation to tonight consisted of staff really going through the Padlet ideas and then coming back to those ideas. It's been an iterative process in really making sure we're advancing the council ideas, also capturing all the other priority work that's taking place currently. So that part's been really exciting and fun to see how it's all come together. And then I mentioned the title of the document. An orientation of action items. So if you open the draft document, you'll see that there is 6 sections. So there previously were 8 strategic focus areas, reduced to 6. Public safety is the first one. Each section has an icon. So there's 6 different icons included in the draft plan. Each strategic focus area has a definition. And council created those definitions, or I should say wordsmith those definitions early on in the process that was held back in the spring. Each idea has a title that you see in the upper right. So crisis response unit funding, the status through a nice little icon. And then if you look at the lower right-hand corner on the first sheet there, it's in small print on the screen, but there's, let's see, 5 different status options that you can see that we're providing as a key to keeping track of all the different activities and actions that take place through implementation of the plan. And then you see that we have funding identified, which is a newer piece that we added to this plan that we previously did not include in the 2019 to 2023 strategic plan, as well as ownership by departments. These are questions really intended to be prompts to get the juices going and really help you dive into the plan and think about what it is that you like about the plan, what you don't like about the plan, what questions do you have. I think overarching, one of the questions that resonated with me the most is question 7. Are you proud of what action items are being advanced in this plan? So this plan is a culmination of the council's vision and mission for Northglenn. So bringing it all together, is council excited? And do you support what you're advancing through adoption of this plan? And adoption of the plan scheduled for January 13th. If council needs to take more time in reviewing the ideas and the framework, we can certainly do that. That'll be a discussion at the January 6th session. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Before we take questions, I just wanted to kind of double down on some of the things in this presentation because the work that council did this fall was pretty robust, but we also may not have had enough time to fully vet the ideas. And so while it's in a format that you can see that looks formal, that does not mean that some ideas can't be completely redlined out. Like, this is a complete draft. It is just a formatted version of all of our ideas. It is not done. And so the process between now and January 6th is so crucial. We have to do the homework. We have to identify the ideas that were possibly our own, like find your own ideas, shape it, make sure you can be ready to advocate for it when we come back together, because I could have had an idea that somebody else is like, nah, I don't think we need that. So that's going to be the discussion. That's going to be the opportunity to say, this one doesn't really align. This one feels like it's left out. This one does not seem like a priority. This one we do not have the money for. So why put it in this plan? This plan goes to everyone. It is a public document. It is a representation of what we believe our work is as a city for the next 5 years. So just because it looks final, it is not. All of those ideas still need to be vetted. And if we don't do the work, we could put out a draft of something that looks ridiculous. So, and then someone's going to catch it later and go, did you really think you were going to put a popsicle stand on every corner? Because someone thought that was a good idea? I mean, that's an example, but we absolutely have to read through it. Yeah, well, maybe it is.
Too late, you can't add.
Yeah, no new ideas, and I think that's going to be the harder part for all of us, is to be like, oh yeah, but wait, I got one more. Nope, that time has passed. Staff did exactly what we asked them to do, and they took all of our ideas and they sorted them and put them into categories and added the ideas that are in progress and the ones that match, and then they pulled out the ones that really don't fit. We asked them to do that work. That is exactly the work that they did. But if we don't do our homework, it's going to be a problem. And again, we have to go through, and there's nobody's name next to item 4A or whatever. And so if you come and say, hey, I really would like to open this one up for debate, I don't think this one makes sense, and then we can have that conversation. This is not your opportunity, or this is not the moment to just rubber stamp it, because it's not finished. So that's not the work here, right? The work is to really, really dig in. And I think I'm super excited about the title and the format. My biggest, my favorite thing is the funding piece. That was a new addition to the strat plan this time, and I think it's brilliant. It not only adds that transparency for our residents, but it keeps us accountable. The other thing I would recommend as you're going through it is to be mindful of our financial forecast. So we threw out a ton of ideas, and some of them are very expensive, and some of them may not fit in the financial plan that we have. And so even though it may be a fun idea, it may not be an idea that we can afford. So we just need to be mindful of that. So that's sort of my double down on the little soapbox. Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to ask a process question. Like, if while we're going through this and like redlining, doing our homework, should we send like a preemptive email, or do we want to do like a full discussion? Like, I guess, like, should I send like a preview so no one feels, I don't know.
I personally would say no, because
Okay.
that could get a little crazy with
That's what
a bunch of emails going back and forth, and then
Yeah.
that could get us in trouble with Corey. Because there will be somebody who will reply all, and we will all get in trouble. I think really the intent is to spend considerable time
Okay.
on the 6th to dig in.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
down for that. Just wanted to manage expectations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I
Councilmember
would,
Goff?
if I could add, Mayor, an important piece of why that is important is so that all of you have that conversation collectively and you hear the different thoughts and ideas. That's a really critically important piece to the process itself.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. So it looks great. I mean, just glancing at it, I can tell that a lot of work was put into this. This is amazing. I just want to clarify, I think I do understand, but in your list of the action plans, let's say like 3.1, 3.2, et cetera, they're not in priority order. Nobody put them in a priority order already?
We did not.
Okay, got
I
it.
just happened to put public safety first.
Got it, okay. So the items underneath are also not prioritized?
They're organized by year
Okay,
of recommended implementation, so that is a level of prioritization.
but that would be something that, it's part of our discussion as well, okay, maybe this 3.1, we should put it off and not do it right away.
Or this item, this recommendation is in 2028. I'd really like to see it moved to 2026. That's a conversation for council to have, yeah.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think you were asking the question that I was looking for as well. So this is not reflective, the current ordering is not reflective of the staff view on prioritization.
It is reflective of what we were asked to do, which is figure out where we believe things fit. Now, preface that with many of these ideas have no funding tied to it. So I didn't go through the out-year financial forecast and say, okay, it was really more of a staff capacity exercise. And we have these things set in motion currently. This idea fits on the tail end of these things already in motion. So that's not a very clear-cut answer. There's a bit of an art to that. And so that's why council's role is to react to the framework that's in a draft format and say, well, I'd really like to see this in this year, and the prioritization piece is fundamental because it's about the city's ability to afford to pay for what it is that council wants to advance. So a couple additional steps that are really critical to advancing the plan in general.
Yeah, because as I was looking at the 6 areas, it seems like a lot of things are front-loaded in the early years, and the out years are kind of less items or TBD. So I'm assuming that's the other thing that you'd like us to see is perhaps figure out what are the things that we might want to push out.
And that wasn't done, great observation, Councilmember Kondo, it wasn't done with any guidance beyond, look at staff capacity, look at where other initiatives are in terms of timelines, and then place them in those years. It's not a bad thing to have more ideas on the front end, because the other consideration to make, and I included it on a page towards the front of the document, is I had a visual outline representation of the annual budget process and future strategic planning cycles that councils will go through. So there's opportunity to update this plan on an annual basis, to bring new ideas through the annual budget process and the strategic planning process updates. And those steps will help feed content into the out years.
Thank you.
Can you go back one slide for me?
Yes.
I just wanted to highlight that this presentation is also in the folder, and so as you're going through it, to go through these questions, I think are super important, especially if you're looking at question 5. Does the timeline make sense? Is it realistic, or does it make a lot of sense, right? So you could find still a favorite idea, but then think, well, what I know about our finances is we may need to put that out a little bit, even though some of that might feel disappointing. And I guess I want to make sure, again, that people know this is the opportunity. If an idea was not vetted properly, it is okay to say, I don't recommend that we put this in here. If it does not align with who we are, if it does not align with the bigger picture and make sense for us, then I think we need to feel comfortable saying, I'm going to propose that we take this one out. We really have to take a critical eye. Is everyone clear on that? I mean, I am so thankful to staff for the amount of work that has been done since the last time we met. I mean, formatting alone, it looks great. I love the title. But all of the work that it takes to read and sort of wordsmith and make sense of our great ideas, and then to put them in a plan. I think it was great. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you for giving us some homework. And we will come back January 6th, ready to rock.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Would anyone like to speak? Our guests? No? Okay. Well, we will move along. I will entertain a motion that the city hold executive sessions. 1, pursuant to Section 4.5D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice regarding security issues. And number 2, pursuant to Section 4.5A of the Northglenn City Charter for personnel matters regarding council appointee evaluations.
So moved.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the motion to meet in executive session passes unanimously.
We will adjourn to the executive session.